Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. This time I am going to be giving you a double dose of gameplay in the STB-1 on Stalingrad. This is a map that a lot of you keep asking me in either emails, Facebook messages, on YouTube, in the comments below. How do I play Stalingrad? Well, this isn't going to be a tactic that you can employ in all tanks. I'd suggest that heavies and tank destroyers are going to find it tricky to use these maneuvers. But at least in your medium and your light tanks and maybe your faster heavies, you can use these positions that I'm going to show you to have great games. So I'm playing in a platoon with Oberian. We both just joined RSOP for more or less the day to be able to take part in an awesome event that occurred. But I digress. Oberian, aka Michael, is the community product specialist at Wargaming Europe. And he's an absolute riot to play with. We played on stream together a couple of weeks ago. We were having some absolutely great games considering it was the first time we played together. Although thinking about it, we played the Wargaming live event at Gamescom just this year in 2014, if you saw that. So immediately we get splashed by the artillery, so we know where he is. We can tell the direction. And that's one artillery that won't be giving us much grief for the rest of the game. As Michael plants the first shell in, we finish him off with an ammo rack. Now take note of where I'm aiming at the Tiger II here. If you aim at this position, you can track him, and because you're aiming up at the Tiger II, you also go through his hull armor as well. So even if you're at the front, you can manage to do full damage and also track a target with sufficient penetration if you're below them. Now me and Michael are just tag teaming our opponents in tier 10 medium tanks versus tier 8 heavies. It's just so unfair. The STB-1 has a fantastic rate of fire with its 105mm, as you can see, amongst the highest DPM of the medium tanks, but not quite taking the crown which belongs to the Object 430. Now me and Michael have found a Waffenträger auf Panzer IV by himself. It's only really a matter of time. We communicate with each other, letting each other know which way he's aiming, and Michael comes in and finishes off the kill. So we track the Panther, and the Aufklärungspanzerpanther finishes him off. We try and fire one on the move there against the IS-4. But now we've got the back of a mouse. Now the STB-1. I haven't done a full tank review on this vehicle, but I will do one soon. Now, I'm just to let you guys know, if you don't watch the stream, this is my favorite medium tank at tier 10. I think it's absolutely awesome. Although you can see that its aim time is a lot weaker than the other mediums. That's made up for by pretty much every other trait. The 10 degrees of gun depression, as you can see here, allows it to poach targets over ridgelines. It has 105mm with pretty good penetration. Enough penetration to contest with every tank that it can meet. But its rate of fire is what's impressive. If you're watching the STB-1 for the first time, you might be going, holy moly, that is a quick rate of fire for 105mm. And that will also be amplified with the fact that I do have brothers in arms on this vehicle, a gun rammer, vent, and onigiri, which is, I believe, the premium consumable. I'm probably pronouncing that Japanese food very incorrectly, but I gave it a good go. So, we completely obliterated the majority of the enemy team on the eastern flank. And oh gosh, did you see the accuracy and the aim time on this gun there? Pretty much every other 105mm would have sunk the shot in, or at least hit it a lot more accurately. The STB-1, with its 2.3 seconds of aim time and accuracy, can struggle. But when it's working, it's working. And as I mentioned, this is a double dose of gameplay. Maybe a bit of spoilers ahead. You see, it's not quite working here. We're not aiming enough, but we have to put the pressure up. We can't let this 113 dictate the pace of the combat. Oh, misses a gigantic meaty shot on the lower plate of the 113 there. And we come round the corner and finish him off. Right now I was communicating with Michael. Michael, get the kill! No, we wanted to get a Brothers in Arms medal. We put one into the FE-4202. But he puts one into us, killing our gunner, meaning that we're within one shot for the FE-4202 to kill us. So I have to take him out before Michael's able to come round and secure his third kill, which would have picked us up the Brothers in Arms medal. So what we saw here was an initial rush into a position which has a nice dip out of it. From here, you can spot all of the artillery and that like to situate themselves at the back. Now this position is very aggressive indeed, and you better make sure that you're either in a platoon or that you see that medium and light tanks are also coming to assist you. By putting the initial pressure on the artillery and the tank destroyers, you're allowing your artillery that might be situating at the back to put shots onto them while remaining hidden. From here, in tanks with great gun depression such as the STB-1, we were able to catch opponents unaware, aim up at their lower plates, and get the jump on players that wanted to make their way along the forefront of the River Volga. Now in this battle, the fighting that often occurs over here was not a stalemate. The enemy team managed to break through and make their way along here, but our aggressive play had already managed to kill the vast majority of the enemy team, while the enemies had split up, allowing us to wipe this part of their forces out and then flank round and defend the gap. My experience so far on this map is that the east is won very quickly indeed by one side, whereas the west becomes a bit of a stalemate, allowing the east to either dictate the pace of the combat, to surround and flank their opponents and generally win the game. But don't take my word for it, let's see it in some more gameplay. So deja vu, I'm playing in the STB-1 on Stalingrad. Let's rinse and repeat. I'm playing with my good buddy Ike, he's in his M48 pattern. Pretty similar kind of vehicle to the STB-1. A lot more resilient than this tank. However, I feel like the STB-1 just takes the strengths of that vehicle and amplifies them. And that's coming from me, an M48 player. That's my most played tank. The M48A1 is my most played vehicle of all time in World of Tanks. And I'm having to move on to this Tier 10 Japanese beast. So this time, there are 3 artillery on the enemy team. 2 Tier 10 artillery and 1 Tier 9. This matchup is very different indeed. Previously, you saw me and Michael, aka Oberian, ripping apart Tier 8s. This is very much more serious. We're going to have to deal with Tier 10s. So our first shot flies true, and we see an FE-4202 making his way into position. We try and hunt a shot on the Object 140, but that makes us take an absolute whack of damage from the M5355, who we were unable to spot this time. We lose 800 hit points to that shot, and an M48 pattern makes his way in towards us. We spot an FE-4202, see that he's coming right behind us, and so we avoid him to stop him from ramming us. Finish off the M48, but oh my word, we've already been reduced to within 1 shot of our hit points. Ike takes a shot in the mantlet. The FE-4202 has no interest in shooting Ike. He wants to finish off the low health target. Thankfully for me, he bounces his shot, and we remove him from the game. Great cover there by Ike. I would be long dead without him. That artillery shell really changed things for me. If I had had that extra 800 hit points, I would have felt very comfortable. And look, Ike just lost another 800 hit points to him, or we're going to go hunting that M5355. Good shooting there. And he was actually spotted at one location here, but we were unable to finish him off. So as I was saying, the shot from that artillery really changed things. Before that 800 damage hit, I would have felt quite confident with being able to fight my way out of the situation against 2 tanks. When you lose basically 40% of your hit points, you're in trouble. And artillery are absolutely multiplying here. Thankfully, the Conqueror gun carrier misses us. We take him out with 2 shots. So 4 kills and 3,000 damage done in 3 minutes? Wow. And now I embrace the inner kill stealer as we go hunting for that M5355. Took us out. Well, removed a large amount of hit points from me and Ike. And see how we're flanking round. Now we could go into the enemy cap circle, but we don't want to give away our position, so we go around the side of it. If you go through the cap circle, it gives away your position. Don't do that. Avoid the cap circle if you want to go around and ambush your opponents. And there he is. Prize target number 1. Good night, sweetheart. Nearly went down into a trench there. Probably would have got stuck somehow. And a GWE 100. Who we finish off. So this stalemate had occurred from the west, and me and Ike were able to flank round and just absolutely pick apart our opponents, one by one. We see a T57 heavy. Luckily for us, he wasn't aiming at us, as we saw, and we bounced a shot from an IS-7 there. An artillery who was relocated to the northeast rains down a shell on him. We are getting a series of very low health kills here. One on the T57 Heavy for 21 hit points. One on the T54E1 for 17. But now we have the IS-4. Whoop! Let's secure the kill on the M103. And unfortunately, we couldn't quite pick up the 10th on the IS-4. So there are a few things to highlight here. One, Ike is officially the best guy in the universe to have in a platoon. If he hadn't covered me versus the FV4202, I would have finished this game with 2 kills and not 9. Secondly, that the STB-1 is an absolute beast if it is allowed to just open fire on its opponents, where it can use its mobility to get around and pick apart its targets one by one. And finally, hopefully, I showed you why I believe that aggressing down the east is the best way to have big games in your medium and light tanks on Stalingrad. Because if you manage to breach that flank, you get round and you take out the stalemate of the west, or you catch them when they generally split up, going towards your base and going towards the eastern front to fight it out. Anyway, let's just take a very quick look at the post-game stats. So both of these rounds were mastery badges in the STB-1. In the first game, we got 4,700 damage with 1,232 base experience, and some great teamwork with Michael, aka Oberian, managed to secure the game for our team. We did see in that game, however, when the STB-1 can be quite troll with its aiming, especially when it tries to fire on the move or has to hit weak points. Next up, we went on a very fortunate, hyper-lucky killing spree with Ike, where we managed to outflank our opponents, the stalemate that happens on the west, and just pick them apart one by one. I probably got my lowest damage Radley-Walter's medal of all time, irrelevant of tier. 9 kills and only 3,700 damage done. Ooh, that's pretty brutal. But taking it down, as well as a Pascusi's medal, was a very satisfying game, which I owe almost entirely to Ike. But the accuracy was much better. We hit every shot that we fired, and 15 of those 16 penetrated. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and gave you an idea of how you might want to play your medium and light tanks on Stalingrad, the latest map to be added to the game. And if any of you were querying about the STB-1, is it worth it? Okay, yes, it really is. So anyway guys, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like down below. It really helps the channel out. And if this video has sparked your interest in the STB-1, then click right up here and you can go through a couple of killer games with the most damage I've been able to do in that vehicle, as well as in the Object 263, another very underplayed Soviet Tier 10 tank destroyer. And let me know in the comments down below what you think about Stalingrad. Specifically, do you agree with me that the East is generally won first and allows either team to either flank through and take the base, or outmaneuver the stalemate that's going on down the west? Maybe you completely disagree with me and that you think that aggressive play by heavies and tank destroyers down the west can outmaneuver the east. Anyway, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.